Anambra, Benue, Ogun, Osun, Niger, Imo, and Niger Delta areas are to experience severe flooding this year, while Lagos and Ondo will see coastal flooding due to the rise in sea levels. The Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency has warned and also raised the alarm of imminent flooding in about 35 states as it presented this year's annual flood outlook in Abuja. Director Health of Mother Foundation, HOMIF, Nnimmo Bassey, joins us now via Skype to speak more on this. Glad to have you join us, Nnimmo.
Thank you very much.
Good. What preparations are or should the government and your organization be making for the safety of lives and property of those living within these flood-prone areas?
Well, the flood warning is something that shouldn't really take us by surprise. We have to be prepared for it because as climate change gets worse, we're going to expect more flooding and more extreme weather events. So what government has to do right now is to take the message of the impending flood, the possibilities of flood, to all the communities. Disseminate this information, the languages of the people, and our planning authorities have to do a lot more than we are seeing right now. In terms of advising people to move to higher grounds, and then those who are still perhaps putting up structures, they have to be sure that the structures are within limits of area that are safe. And if citizens are building, if Nigerians are putting up buildings on streets that are not tarred, they have to be sure that the floor levels are high enough for future pavement of the roads to be sure that they become flooded when little floods come. But in many of our communities, I think what needs to be done right now is for people to prepare for the impending flood and move things to where they'll be safer. The basic thing that can be done by a civil society like ours is to share the information to communities and get people to know that it's not the best to live within flood-prone areas, except your houses are built on stilts like those on the riversides. So it's really a very big challenge. And in cities, we have to be sure that our drains are open and proper drainage master plans are prepared for our communities. Because so far, our drainages are just haphazard. Even when you have major drainage constructions, they don't end anywhere that is sufficiently planned.
Yes, we're back here again in 2017 announcing that they are impending flooding, and we're never ever prepared for this. This is 2017. It happened in 2014. It happened in 2015, and now in 2017. Are we ever going to be prepared as a nation to tackle such environmental issues?
Well, you know, the issue of climate change and extreme weather events is something that I don't think any nation can be prepared for. What the best way to prepare for is to avoid this, and that is by taking actions that would kind of slow down climate change. We have to fight against, ensure that we stop deforestation for any reason, either logging wood for construction or using infrastructural reasons to destroy our forest. We have to stop gas flaring. Cannot say this enough. We have to repeat this every time. We cannot say we want a fair weather, while at the same time we are doing the very things that are making our situation worse than they ought to be.
All right, Nnimmo, there's something that I find, should I use the word incomprehensible? You know, usually when these things happen or are about to happen, usually announcements are made advising those who live in flood-prone areas to relocate. Isn't it the responsibility of the government to organize their relocation?
Thank you very much for bringing that up. The entire climate change issue, including extreme flooding, is an issue of injustice because those who are most impacted are the most vulnerable who don't have any reason to suffer this kind of impact. So really, because we've suffered this from year to year, in 2012, we had over 300 deaths and millions of Nigerians were displaced along the River Niger, Niger Delta, along the Benue. And so it's time really to review how our communities are located, where living quarters where people are living, and then for government to intervene. This is a social service, emergency security service. So government really should help in preparing the plans and also assisting our people to live in places that are less vulnerable. It's a duty that government should undertake.
Okay, Nnimmo, specifically Lagos and Ondo states will be affected because of sea level rise, but other states are said to be affected just by flooding. Now, we know this has happened over and over. Cameroon has to release some water from its dam and it comes straight to cities and states in Nigeria. That's what I'm asking. Are we ever going to be prepared to be able to stop the water coming in from their dam? When can we build our own dam to ensure that this doesn't affect us over and over? Every year it keeps happening.
Well, I hear you clearly now. I did not hear the question clearly previously. Now, the issue of having dams in Cameroon, in Nigeria, these are things, if a country like Cameroon has a dam that would likely cause problems for us downstream, there has to be an agreement with the Nigerian authorities. They can't release their water haphazardly. There are levels that you can reduce water systematically in a way that doesn't pose a threat to people. So it's a question of having very clear understanding between the two countries, working together and sharing strategies. Even the Kainji Dam also was a part of the problems in 2012 because we don't maintain the dam. The water, when it got to a point where the dam was threatened, the waters were just let loose and people now suffered the impact downstream. So it's a question of maintenance and also working together in agreement with other countries. And of course, whatever we need to do, we've heard about the plan to build a dam on the Benue that would contain extreme floods if they come from the dam in Cameroon. That should be done. Any measure that will protect us needs to be done. We can't just wait and be taking the hit every time, and then people will be scampering for safety where there's no safety.
All right, thank you very much, Nnimmo Bassey there, the Director Health of Mother Foundation on environmental flooding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.